Boom, what's up, guys? I'm back talking about Microsoft Corporation Company today here. I had a TikTok where I talked about this stock constantly in its lows here. And I'm going to talk about it again today because I'm doing something different than Take Two Interactive. If we look at the PE ratio, 25 PE ratio. Now, if we look at something like Meta, I like both of these. Meta stock 22. So I would say Meta is the cheapest of the Mag 7, obviously. It's a total screaming buy. It was actually right here at 600. I don't care what anybody says. Microsoft here, sitting still at year to date at down 9%. And in a year, only up down 7%. 5 years at 70%. I believe the S&P 500 is just around 70 something percent. So it really hasn't outperformed the S&P 500. And when you think about taking on a lot of risk in buying a company like Microsoft, obviously not too much risk, but there's less risk buying the S&P than buying Microsoft, right? And so you'd likely want to have more returns here, and that's why it's kind of concerning. And that's why I'm buying it now, unfortunately. Fortunately for me. And so you're sitting at a $3 trillion market cap. I can see it going to 6 trillion, which would mean that the company would double, right? And I think that these prices will seem cheap in the future. If we looked at the backlogged revenue for MSFT, and I think this is the biggest part of it. So we had this huge capex spending that was happening, and which sold off these companies, especially Microsoft and with all the other companies. But this really hasn't went anywhere still because of the software. It's still baked into the. I mean, it is software, Microsoft, but it has so many businesses that it really is. It's unbeatable. It's not. It's not. It's undefend. Like there's no way it can lose. It's too big to fail. That's right. Anyways, here it is, 627 billion in remaining performance obligations, meaning they have $627 billion in revenue that they haven't even realized yet, that they haven't because they're too busy. Think about a bunch of people running around a company and saying, I'm too busy. There's all this money waiting for me over here, and I can't even get to it because we're too busy spending billions and making these big data centers and spending the capex that these companies are spending. But Microsoft has massive amounts of backlog, specifically with OpenAI. Um, it's with their Azure cloud services with AI, Microsoft's AI business is surpassing a 37 billion annual revenue run rate. So look at this, a 99% increase year over year, basically saying that they had no backlog revenue last year. And so what I'm saying is if we look at the stock here in a year, zero backlog revenue, 600 billion incoming. And guys, if we're sitting at 300 trillion in market cap, that's like, I don't know, do the math. It's like a percentage of that, but it's a lot of money. And so once they realize those revenues, I think that you'll see that it'll be totally justified for the capex spending, and which really hasn't been too crazy, but it has been a lot. But they have that revenue sitting there, and that's what I look at is almost like your margin of safety. It's like when you invest in a company, you want to have a margin of safety. And if they have 600 billion in unrealized revenue, that is the only point I care about. Um, you know that there's going to be money flowing in, and even if they spend all this money on these data centers, etc., the point is that it's nothing to them. They're just using their cash flows. They have tons and tons of money, and the company will never have any sort of financial problems because it'll just go right to the bottom line with these companies because they're making so much. They're making more money than God. I like to say. They are also another cool thing I heard from Jim Cramer is he was talking about how the CEO is actually, and I've heard it before in rumors that he's going to come up with his own model with Azure Cloud and with OpenAI to combat Anthropic, to combat Google and Anthropic and whoever else is tied up with Anthropic, and they're gonna and apparently it's better. And so nobody knows what's happening, but you think Microsoft has been sitting here for a year doing nothing, twiddling their thumbs, taking a beating because they're a software company? No, these guys make so much money, and think about their company and think of all the people they got in there. They've came up with a solid model here that's going to come out and just destroy. And I'm always on the side of Anthropic and Google which is they have it seems like they're winning right now. Microsoft is going to come back in July, and that's what I believe. So that's my video on Microsoft. But yeah, you guys got to think about me personally. I like buying here.